Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and let's take a look at doing polynomials and making sure that we understand what is a polynomial, isn't a polynomial, and making sure that we have, as best we can tell, an understanding of all the vocabulary that goes with polynomials. So here we go. With that, polynomial, is this one right here a polynomial? The answer is yes, because only one variable, x, numbers, powers. So you say, wait a minute, I don't see no power there. Well, that's because it's x to the first, okay? And even if we wanted to, as a sneaky x to the 0 in there if we want it, but we don't need that, so we don't write it. We don't need the one, so we don't write it. So that is a perfectly good polynomial, 3 parts, power of 2, leading term, leading coefficient. This one, no, not a polynomial, because I have x's, but then I have y's. So the y is the problem. It is not a good polynomial. All right. Now, in this case, is this a polynomial? I have 4 and an x squared. That's good. I like that. Root 3 and an x plus 2. So I have x squared, x, nothing. I do have a square root, but the square root is on this. If I type this into a calculator, it's all good, everybody, because that'll give me 1.7, blah, 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 blah. No problem there. So this is, yes, a polynomial. Down here, is this a polynomial? Ooh, it has a fraction in it. But again, does that fraction, if I put that into a calculator, can it turn it into a decimal? 0.25x squared plus 3x plus 7? Yes, that is a polynomial. Good to go. Now, down here, x squared, what? In this case, we have a square root again, but instead of the square root being on a number where a calculator can handle it, it's on an x, which means no bueno. We cannot have a square root on an x. So this is a failure. And we have no, not a polynomial. Can anybody tell me what the problem is down here? Well, I got a nice x squared, got a nice x, but ooh, I have another x, but it's divide by. We cannot have divide by x. So no divide up here. The problem was no root variable. Up here, no too many variables. Okay, and down here, is this a polynomial? Well, again, we had the same problem. We said no divide, so nope, not a polynomial because I cannot divide by an x. No divide x. Now, again, I could divide by a number. That's perfectly fine because I can put that in a calculator. But if I try putting this into a calculator, error, syntax. Now, let's go over here and let's look at the next piece. If I have something like 4x cubed plus 6x squared plus 3x plus 7. Is this a polynomial? Boom, 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 boom. X cubed, x squared, x, and 7. Yes, it is. This is totally polynomial. And in this case, we would say, how many terms? How many terms? The answer is 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. And then we say, okay, fine, what is the leading term? Well, the leading term would be the one in the front, so that's got to be 4x cubed. That is the whole leading term. Now, let's be careful. This is in standard form, so this needs to be in standard form. Why standard form? What is standard form? It's when I go from the highest power to the lowest power. X cubed, x squared, x to the 1, x to the 0. Again, I don't need to write that because it's kind of unnecessary. That's kind of unnecessary, but I want you to see 3, 2, 1, 0. If this were written as 3x plus 4x cubed plus 7 plus 6x squared, 4x cubed is still going to be the leading term because you can only tell the leading term once you've put it into standard form, when you put it in order. So the leading term is always going to be the biggest power term. That means the leading coefficient. First of all, let's talk about the coefficients at all. The coefficients are the numbers in front of the variable. So in our case, 4, 6, 3, 7. And they can come in any order except for the fact that if I want the leading coefficient, it's obviously the coefficient from the leading term. So we're going to take this guy right here, and our leading coefficient is 4. Leading coefficient 4. Now, that brings us down to the power. What is the power here? The power or the degree. In this case, it's the highest power. So we say, hey, third. So it's third power. Now, we have names for this. If it is first power, x to the 1, that would be linear. If I have second, x squared, that's quadratic. If I have third power, x cubed, that's going to be cubic. If I have fourth power, x to the 4th, that's quartic, like quarters. Quarters, cubes, linear. Remember, linear is like y equals mx plus b. So it's just x to the 1. And finally, fifth power, x to the 5th, is quintic. Okay, so to show your work on this section, what do you need to do? You need to write out the polynomial. You need to write out the polynomial. You need to tell me yes or no and why. For the second section, you need to write the polynomial. If it's not in standard form, put it there. You say, is it a polynomial? Yes. How many terms? 1, 2, 3, 4, because they're separated by plus or minuses. Leading term, the first one when it's in standard form. Leading coefficient, the number when it's in standard form. And then power degree, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, linear, quadratic, cubic, quartic, quintic. Okay, guys, that's what you got. That should help you out.